Welcome, everyone, to the first MIT Global Innovators series. My name is Andrew Nui, and today we have here with us Tiago Naves from Brazil. Tiago is a lawyer and now an entrepreneur. And he's going to share with you his amazing story on failing his way to success. So I just want to say that this series is going to be a year-long e-learning series, and we're going to be featuring MIT trained alumni who have been through the entrepreneurship and innovation journey and challenges. And this is going to be something that we're going to bring to you once a month for the rest of this year. So, I hope you look forward to it. I hope you ask lots of questions. I hope it's inspiring for you and encouraging to you. And I hope that you get a lot out of it. And just for housekeeping purposes, there is a Q&A box. Please use that Q&A box down below to ask your questions. Tiago is going to be speaking for roughly about 30 to 40 minutes. And then we're going to open the floor. So type your questions away and we'll go from there. So Tiago, over to you. All right.
Well, hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody that is attending to this webinar. It's such an honor to be here. And I'm totally excited about this experience that I'd like to share to you. This is really an opportunity of a lifetime. And I could never imagine that exactly 1 year ago, I was receiving my letter of attendance to the MIT Bootcamp. And since then, I couldn't imagine what could happen in this year. And that's a little bit of what I want to talk to you today from the past and also for this last year as a way for you to attend the next bootcamp and to be part of this really, really amazing experience, to this drinking from the fire hose. Anything you can think about, it is much better than that. So by the title of this presentation, let me start sharing here. By the title of this presentation, you may imagine that we are going to talk about two concepts here, that is fail and success. And to talk about these two concepts, we must think that there is a kind of educational experience that can move someone from fail to success. One thing that I always remember from bootcamp is how one of the coaches, Mrs. Vimala, she told us that bootcamp is an educational experience, and that's how we must think about that. So, as one of the attendees asked me before, I would like first to tell my conception about fail. For me, to fail is to do something that if you had enough education, you wouldn't do. And I think this is totally connected with entrepreneurship. So if you have enough connection and enough education, you'd never do what you did. And to succeed is to do something that happens as you see in your educational experience. So I think they are the two main points for the team that we are talking today. And how can bootcamp be this educational experience? And how can be this very important educational experience? Well, let's move to the first slide here. So I'm back to 1995. This is my first experience in entrepreneurship. I was 13 years old and I decided to start a BBS with my fellows from school. And so starting this BBS, maybe lots of people that are here today won't know what is a BBS. Well, back to 1995, internet in Brazil was only by BBS, this bulletin board system. So this was a system where you could access by phone and then log in to talk to people as a chat, share files, share games, share services. And so this is a kind of previous navigator. And it was an open code. And even without knowing anything, me and my friends, we decided to start this one. And of course, it was a dream. It was a first dream from a very young person, a dream for entrepreneurship. And of course, it failed. We didn't have any kind of concepts. We didn't have anything to be successful. Not enough education, not enough techniques, nothing at all. But this is the first experience, and it's very interesting to rescue this as a kind of, and if I had a little bit of education for entrepreneurship at that time, what could have happened? Nobody knows. And this is the first thing that you must think about by deciding to apply to MIT Bootcamps. Well, so we move on. I studied more, graduated, and decided to start an office. So a lawyer's office, as I graduated for. Well, I was inside this office for almost 10 years as a lawyer. And I might tell you that as I was trying to learn a little bit of concepts for entrepreneurship inside it and to apply there, it was totally impossible. Why? This is a complete non-scalable business. That's the first point. A lawyer is often connected with the person in terms of how the person can be confident with that work. So it totally depends on the schedule of the person, on the way that the person works. And as it is, it's totally non-scalable. There is also a second problem that I learned there as this, let's say, second failing experience. That is, you start to earn money. You start to earn money. And by earning money, you tend to a little bit forget about the concepts of entrepreneurship. You stay inside this zone that is very comfortable. And so this is a problem. This is a total problem. And in this case, it was even worse because inside this office, we had like a $10 million case, which like everybody was waiting years and years and years to win the case and get the money. And so it was like a dream that often repeated each and each year. And in a way to, okay, maybe I can think about this next year. I can think about the more entrepreneurship next year, and time passes. And then, of course, there is another fail. So you may think about these three mistakes that are very consistent. The first one is to be inside a business that is not scalable at all. You may think about this inside your lives. You may think about how money coming can really make you go away from your entrepreneurial dream. And the third thing is that when you expect to win money and you expect this for a long time, how this can really start poisoning a little bit your dreams of having a life of entrepreneurship. So I think this would be the three most related problems from the office that took something around 10 years of my journey, my professional journey. And of course, I learned so much there, and I had the experience necessary to, I think, to be where we reach it right now. It's because of the previous experience. But anyway, it's something that you might think on how to really win a position of comfort and make sure that you are really running for your dream and not against your dream. So the first experience that came and based my bootcamps experience is this platform that's called Lar do Consumidor, which should be translated by Consumer's Home in English. So this platform where digital tech businesses in Brazil were almost zero. And we decided that we could create a platform in order to make consumers' lives easier by teaching them on how to fight for their rights and how to deal with companies that were disrespecting them and so on. But at the same time that we face it here, the problem at least, so finally I got into a problem, a real problem where consumers in Brazil were being disrespected and were being very disrespected. At the same time that this happened, I cannot think about a business where all other sources of studies for entrepreneurship and of paths were simply not being taken. So we, at the beginning, we didn't have any study about the market. So the market was Brazil, which is a continent. About the rights, so the rights that we're dealing about were all the rights, all the consumers' rights. And all these, let's say, things that started thinking, okay, I made a great solution, but this solution is not really inserted into a way for being well succeeded. And so, as I can tell you that this platform is well succeeded, but it is well succeeded because the problem is really huge. And it could be much more well succeeded if I had an educational experience like bootcamp before. So, of course, we have here a strong and very nice team that make it works, and that's really fantastic. We have lots and lots of good things happening. But if I had this educational experience before, I think it could be much more well succeeded. So that's something to think about. Okay, I have a business that is well succeeded. Well, that's fine. Congratulations for that. But think about it. And if you had enough knowledge, enough education for doing this 10 times better than that, 10 times scalable than that. So think about it. Bootcamp is not only an educational experience for someone that wants to start a business. It is also a very strong opportunity, a very strong experience for someone who already has a business, who already is in this entrepreneurial journey and wants to make it much better, wants to learn from the previous mistakes. I can tell you one big mistake from this. Okay, so this business started involving friends. This is not good. This is not good at all. If you have a business or you are thinking about a business that involves friends, take it in a very serious way because you can lose your friends. So this business was previously based on friendship. We have still some friends inside it and some people that just lost the friendship. And I can tell you from my heart that if I knew that before, I would never start a business. So think about this. Think about how can someone without enough education for this business think that, okay, with my friends, it's going to be much better. Everybody will be involved in this. And then you lose a friend. That's tragic, totally tragic. So you must think about this as a way that when you see the steps, the right steps, that you can be well succeeded in a business. And I'm talking here about the 24 steps for discipline and entrepreneurship that are taught inside the MIT Bootcamps. I'm telling to you that it's something that if you really study from your heart, if you really move this to your life and start changing your experience, you never do a mistake like that. Or at least you can involve your friends, but in a way that your friendship will never be lost. And so that's one thing that I would very like to share to you is how can I, if I had a possibility to move to the past and correct this, I would always do. And I'm so thankful for MIT Bootcamps to have this opportunity of seeing what had happened and to restart it. So, as you can see, even with these mistakes, as the problem is huge and the team is really amazing, Lar do Consumidor succeeded, and it's still a very important platform in Brazil to deal with consumers' rights. And it started to move on and create another kinds of platforms that are more specialized. And the first one that was created, there is the quickmed. So this platform works on the theme of protecting consumers' rights, but is specialized in fighting against problems related with private health insurance. This is a huge problem in Brazil. The person pays for private health insurance for all his or her life, and at the end, when a treatment is needed, when a medicine is needed, the health insurance just go, okay, as you can see here on the article 1012,16, you don't have the right. And this really spread it all over around and created a kind of very serious situation. So Lar do Consumidor created quickmed as a way to make sure that people will have information that is qualified, that is free, and that is specialized about how to fight for the rights. But this wasn't the first quickmed. So this is a pivot from a previous quickmed, and that's a kind of main point that I want to talk to you, because actually quickmed is the real experience that made me apply for bootcamp. As a father of kids, when my kids were very young, I started to realize that when we needed to go to hospitals, and kids, babies, kids, they often go to hospitals for many cases. You didn't have any kind of organization inside it. So you could go to the hospital and wait for 5 hours to be attended by a doctor, or you could just go there and not wait at all. And it always depended on nothing. So by creating the solution, having what I thought was a wonderful idea and directly creating the solution, we started an application where you could simply go to the hospital and say, okay, here, the attendance will be in about 1 hour. And then if I needed to go to that hospital, I could have a check in the app and see that how long I would have to wait for the attendance, and then move forward to other hospitals if they had crews that were that had a fewer time than that. And so I thought it was a wonderful idea. People that were with me thought also that it could be a wonderful idea. And so we began the app by the solution, never validating the problem that we thought would exist. And so by the first week, we noticed that people were using the app. So they were downloading, but then when they would go to the hospital, they wouldn't collaborate there. They wouldn't put there, okay, so here's 1 hour, here's 2 hours. And I said, oh, but why? Without any kind of primary market research, we started to ask people, why you're not using? Oh, it's because when I go to the hospital, I feel so tense, I feel so nervous that I don't remember to go there and use it. I said, oh my God, this is a real problem. So people, when they go to the hospital, they don't have conscience of doing another thing than being there to receive the treatment. Why didn't we think about this before? Said, okay, so let's try to go to the hospitals and ask them if they can put there the time for attendance. And so we asked the hospitals, and they said, no, we'll never do this because it's not interesting for us. We don't want to do this. We will lose patients. We will lose our clients. We are not going to do this. And they said, oh my God, so now patients, they don't want to use us. Hospitals, they don't want to use us. Okay, so let's try the health insurance plans. Let's ask them to oblige the hospitals to give this information. And private health insurance plans said, no, we'll never do this. We don't want any kind of problems with the hospitals. So what we had at the end, previous idea that we thought was wonderful, a solution created by the solution without any kind of validation of the problem, without any kind of primary market research, without any kind of total addressable market, without any kind of cost of consumer acquisition, without nothing at all. A total fail, a total and exclusive fail. And this was the experience that made us pivot to this quickmed that is now well succeeded. And that is the experience that I'm so grateful, because with that, I could know MIT Bootcamps as we decided to apply this previous one to a program of pre-accelerating that is run here in Brazil. And of course, it wasn't selected. But anyway, that made me know MIT Bootcamps. And I'm so proud of quickmed because not only because it is today a well-succeeded business that is run by a very nice team, but because it made me know MIT Bootcamps. So we made this application to MIT Bootcamps at the very time quickmed was pivoted and started running. At the time, we were about to travel to Australia at the end of February, beginning of March. We had launched another application, another solution created by Lado Consumidor, which is this one, the GoGondola. So what happened was that Lado Consumidor started not only to help consumers fight for their rights, but also to create strategies and create products to make consumers' life easier. And GoGondola is a very nice example of that. This is an application for you. If you go to Venice, Italy, and you want to share a gondola ride, you can use it. And so a gondola ride is very expensive, but a gondola is made of 6 places. It's always there. And this is an experience that can be shared. And for many centuries, nobody thought about it. And what I can tell about GoGondola is that when I arrived at the bootcamp and was learning all that marvelous experience, all that wonderful experience there, I made the 24 steps for disciplined entrepreneurship back. And luckily, GoGondola, GoGondola could survive for this experience. So it was really, it is really a very nice business. But this is for luck, because if one of these steps was mistaken, we would have to reconstruct that, and that wouldn't be good. So, and I don't recommend that you have a business and then you move. And as you learn the 24 steps for disciplined entrepreneurship, you simply try to validate it back. That is totally crazy. In this case, it worked, but I mean, it must be 1 for 1,000, 1 for 10,000. So this is not good to be. What is good is what happened at the bootcamp. So inside bootcamp, with marvelous, such a wonderful team that is one of the very prides of my life, of my entire journey. We created the Quick Brazil. So this is a genuine product from MIT Bootcamps. By all this previous experience in dealing with consumers and how to help them to fight for their rights, how to help their lives to be easier, how to help their lives to be better, how to make them feel happier about their relation with the companies. Quick Brazil was created as a way, as a platform that can not only solve the problem, but pay in advance for a problem related with the airlines. So if the consumer has a flight canceled or has a flight delayed in Brazil, he can move inside Quick Brazil and get an immediate compensation for the problem. And then Quick Brazil will get this case, make a settlement with the airline, and this operation and the profit is for Quick Brazil. But then Quick Brazil eliminates any risk for the consumer, because the consumer already received his compensation for the damage. And this is a total, even if it's, of course, it was baptized on the very last day of bootcamp, as we had the pride of winning a prize there for the most suitable company for the real world. And so it was baptized on the very first day after that. So Quick Brazil hasn't a year yet. It is about to complete a year in April. But it is a well-succeeded business because it's totally based on the 24 steps for entrepreneurship. It has passed to all over this, and we, inside the team, and you're going to know this team in a very short way. We are going to have another webinar as the second part of this journey with Mr. John Hanson, Mr. Amori Gonzalez, as how we debate this every day, the steps, and how we create all the strategy, all the ideas based on this. And we make this with lots of happiness, with lots of energy. And this is totally amazing. So, okay, you can even think about starting a company inside Bootcamp. That's completely marvelous, completely at the same time. It is completely insane to think about how this experience can be done. And so I can tell to you that if you're watching this and if you didn't do this until now, you must really apply for the next bootcamp in Rio. This is seriously a life-changing experience by everything I told you and much more that you live there. So I can tell you from my heart, bootcamp is an experience that takes 6 days, but in my life and in many others, it's equal to 6 years. of hard work. The environment, it's very important. This is an environment that is your previous mistakes. So who will you find there? You won't find there just like people, okay, I very well succeeded with my business. I always did it right. No, this is an environment for entrepreneurs. And the environment for entrepreneurs is based on a comprehensive and very nice knowledge about mistakes. That's what I was telling you during this presentation. So yes, it is 6 years and 6 days. And you must think about this. You must think about how can you arrive there with your previous experience, with your mistakes, meet such wonderful people, such wonderful entrepreneurs, such a wonderful coaches, such wonderful faculty, teams, everything. And start another journey in your life. And as this is Quick Brazil, it's totally amazing. So if I could simply resume what I told you, and I'll be here open for you for any kind of questions, not only now, but if you want to ask me anything from this journey, I'll be totally open for that. I made 24 steps in 24 years. Yes, if you can see from my previous experience and that bulletin board system experience that I had when I was younger until now, I took almost 24 years to learn the 24 steps. Okay, it was a very nice experience, sure about that. But if you apply to bootcamp, if you are selected for that, you can have this experience in 1 week. You can move forward with your business, start a new one, meet such wonderful people in just 1 week. So it is, yes, it is something that is drinking from a fire hose. And I can tell you, don't think about anything than applying to bootcamp. Now or at the time that you can, do it as quickly as possible, because I know that this is such a well-succeeded experience that every time we had many entrepreneurs going there to apply. And I had a previous experience by applying that I wasn't selected. And on the second time, I decided, okay, I'm going to do everything as quick as I can. And that's how it worked on, because that's the MIT Bootcamps philosophy. You have to do everything with all your energy, all your soul, as quick as you can, as hard as you can. And so my advice to you is to really apply for that as soon as possible. Today, tomorrow, this weekend, go there, make it happen, make it happen. And I couldn't end this without a little bit of being so thankful. First, for my family, in the person of my wife, Cecilia, and my kids, Gianluca and Rafaelo. Without them, I could never be able to go to bootcamp. So all my family, I'm totally thankful for you. And also for this wonderful staff from MIT Bootcamps, Andrew, Vimala, Erdin, and you will all know them when you go to bootcamp. And a special thanks as well to Mr. Luciano Silveira, which is he's a coach from MIT Bootcamps, and he's much more than this. And you'll be very thankful for your life if you can meet Mr. Luciano and talk to him once and learn from his experience, learn for his life. And I'm so thankful for this. And so, Angel, I'm totally open here for questions. and for anything that is related with the MIT Bootcamps, you and all the entrepreneurs can count on me for everything. And it was such a pleasure to talk from you from Brazil, and I'm here for everything.
Cool. Thank you, Tiago. Lots of questions, but I kind of want to start with your frame of mind. You know, why did you, you know, obviously there are many areas of law. You graduated from law school. There's many areas of law. There's intellectual property. There's, you know, real estate. There's business law. Why did you decide that you wanted to get into this area of consumer protection? What was your frame of mind? And because it also sounds like you have this sense of justice behind that too. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, you are totally right about this, Andrew. So I've always tried to work with something that wasn't only for the money or even for a nice business. I always had this conscience that seeking for justice is seeking for something above, and that is my main point of life in work terms. So what I identified from that point on the very early stage of law techs in Brazil was that mainly this hunt for justice would be facilitated and very well succeeded if I could do this by consumers protection. So it was, let's say, a very quick way of making this happen, of making these thirds of justice to happen, and with a good business. So I was connecting a very nice business and a very nice sense, that is the sense of justice, in a very unfair society that is Brazil. So it was always about changing the society. And this is not only a speech, this is real. Today in Quick Brazil, we have an American and a Guatemalan citizen that were working inside the Brazilian market. And they are always seeing that we are dealing with justice. So this is not a speech, this is for real. And this will always be inside our business plans, let's say. Our business plan is totally made of the sense of justice.
Thank you for that. So let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about the emotional journey of failure. Can you share? Yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of people talk about the hard work of innovation, the hard work of launching a new venture, but let's talk a little bit about the stuff that you don't see behind the scenes. Can you share your emotional journey in failure and the times that you fail? How did you feel? How did you pick yourself up? How did you motivate yourself? How did you get people around you to counsel you? Can you share more about that?
Oh yeah, sure. This is something that is inside an entrepreneur journey every day. And as an entrepreneur, I must tell you that you have the right to fear for this, but you must have the courage to win this. So these feelings that Andrew said, they will be with you every day. And sometimes people, they just ask me, how can I be such a happy person with all these challenges and all the fails that were inside the journey? And I have two answers. The first one is that I would do everything again. Of course, if I could go first to MIT Bootcamp, my life would be much easier. But I would do everything again. That's the first answer that I give. And the second one is that an entrepreneur feels terrible many times a day. Can you imagine how many responsibilities? Can you imagine how many challenges? Can you imagine how many taxes to pay? Can you imagine how many employees and their problems? This is really crazy. The person could be in a very nice job. The person could be in a very comfortable job. The person has total condition of being there, but no, they are just being entrepreneurs. They are not better or worse than the others, but they are simply entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs with all their hearts, and they feel bad, they feel terrible many times a day, but at the same time, they have such a wonderful courage to move forward, to look at their families as I have mine. So many times I look at my wife, I look at my children and said, okay, this will be done. This will be done now. We have also this wonderful experience of cultural differences. So talking again about Quick Brazil, 3 different kinds of culture working together. And you have to understand this. And you have to like, okay, you have to get the best from these cultures and move forward. So an entrepreneur feels bad many times a day, but at the same time has a courage that nobody has. So yes, that's a way to deal with failures. Is how you think, okay, I failed so many times. What is this now? I'm going to succeed. I'm going to succeed at this, and then you will succeed. And that's how things go. And with, of course, lots of work. If you have this enough experience and the enough knowledge that can be learned inside the MIT Bootcamp, I'm totally sure that you win any kind of failure that you previously had.
Great. So I'm going to move into some of the other questions. Ashira asks, are you saying that we should keep business and friendship separate, or can you explain a little bit more? Because I know you touched on that, Tiago, but can you talk about how you keep your friendships, continuing for the longer term, especially if you do business with them?
Yeah, well, this is a very complicated situation. And as my experience from today, what I can tell you is that if you can avoid that, you should do it. I mean, if you create a business and then you make friends, and that's the natural way, the best way, of course. So let's say I'm a very nice friend of my co-founders at Quick Brazil. Okay, that's fine. But if you have previous friends and you decide to take a journey with them, you must really think about it, because this can not only destroy your friendship, but as a way of even destroy your own business, as it's based on the confidence that you have with your friends. So think about this very nicely in a way that, okay, I'm not telling that it's a forbidden thing to do. Of course not. Of course, there are plenty of very nice businesses that are made with friends, made with families, but you must think about in a way that you must respect the fact that it can go wrong. And if it goes wrong, what happens? What happens with my friendship? With all the time invested, with all the money invested, and as I told you, a friend for me is the most is the most valuable person. So lose a friend for business is not fair. And of course, now I can see this. In the past, I couldn't. So think very well if you are doing a business with your friends or thinking about this, as maybe trying to change this a little bit, or have some kind of specific positions for friends that cannot conflict with each other, because it's very complicated. And today, I wouldn't do anything anymore with a friend. I totally think about, okay, if my friendship is in risk, I will never do this. And that's one advice from these failures from the past, really, Andrew.
Great. Okay, so Maria asked, do you think that a specialized business has a better chance to succeed than one that adds a lot of services. She gives examples, for example, Amazon or eBay, would they succeed? So compare, I guess, a generic business like Amazon or eBay versus a, very, very specific focused business like, say, quickmed or Brazil. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, sure. I thank you very much for this question. And yes, one thing that you learn inside the MIT Bootcamps is that this specialized business, as far as you can specialize more and more, you have much more better chances of being well succeeded. And of course, after you have a well succeeded business, there is no problem in making it wide and open it to other markets, other activities, but you must begin really, really, really specialized. Specialized activity, a specialized market, as far as you can. Move forward inside this, let's say, inverse pyramid as far as you can. And then you're going to see that by doing this, of course, when you are well succeeded, you can think about making it much more open to all the, let's say, connected markets. But yes, this is something that I would like to know before in my life. And I'm so thankful to have learned it inside MIT Bootcamps.
Yeah, so to add to Tiago's point, we look at specificity, and it's the idea that you have to attack a market or to get into a market that you have access to, that you're able to gain market share, that you're able to gain customers. And really that's the idea, you start with one market segment and then you spread out when you gain market traction. Moving on to Roberto's question. Hi, Tiago. How did you handle the Brazilian bar and attorney's pressure against Lardo Consumidor and the health support business, if there was any?
Okay, this is a very interesting question. And from the very beginning, this operation for Lardo Consumidor is based on an information operation. So this is not something that is directly related with lawyers. And I always wanted to be like this, because this is a platform for information only. And what happened was that by doing this fair activity inside the market, and by encouraging people that had rights to go and fight for them with lawyers, what happened was that the Brazilian Bar Association, they started to support this platform. So it was the opposite. It wasn't a problem. It was always something good for us, that by giving good information and good advice to consumers and encouraging them to fight for their rights in a specialized way with lawyers, the Brazilian Bar Association, they are always supporting Lardo Consumidor for this activity.
Right, sorry about that. So let's see what else. N. Langsilius, sorry, I must be really bad pronunciation. She asks, what is your key learning experience from participating in the MIT Bootcamp?
Well, my key learning experience is exactly the learning of the 24 steps of a disciplined entrepreneurship. How to study them, how to understand this path, and how to really get in a business that has been validated and has passed through all these paths. That actually this is a challenge, because even if you have a good business, maybe the business won't survive to this disciplined entrepreneurship. And of course, this is a method that is prepared for this specific rule of business that we are talking here today. But even if you have a good business, maybe it wouldn't survive into this path. So this is my key learning experience is how to make a business survive to the 24 steps of a disciplined entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and to really be clear here, you know, Tiago, you took the online course, which is the courses, the entrepreneurship and innovation courses, which are a key requirement before coming to bootcamp, because you acquire the knowledge online, and then you're actually coming to the bootcamp to really work and practice what you've learned in the bootcamp. So moving on to the next question, James Jenkins asks, what was the hardest part of your journey as an entrepreneur? How did you adapt and overcome?
Well, thank you very much for this question as well. I think it's this problem. The hardest part is a problem related to losing friends, and not only one. When I was doing my interview for MIT Bootcamps, I tried to be as clear as possible with my interviewer that this was the hardest part for me inside the journey. And that's why I'm so worried about this. And sometimes people, they get confused about it. And I'll tell you again, this is a problem that maybe cannot be correct in the future. And so you must really think about and think again and again, and start in an enterprise with friends or family or whatever, because the damage can be very hard, and to move forward is hard. You move, you go on, and you try in your life to correct this, but sometimes it doesn't depend on you only. So that's something that you must really think about, and it's totally the hardest part of my journey.
Okay, following up on the friends question, lots of people, I guess, want to be working with friends. Of course, you know, I think it's good to work with friends, but you need to create boundaries. And so Tiago, Marco asks, can you share your insights on how to manage friends in your company that you've, if you've already started, if you've already made the mistake of starting a company with them, and of course, there's not a magic formula, but any tips on how to address the situations in a broader sense?
Yes, totally. So my first advice is try to be as clear as possible, especially when the business is going well, succeeded. Try to be as clear as possible with the activities that each one are doing, and mainly about money, because the problems start when money comes. So try to be as clear as possible from the beginning. You know, something that is a little bit bizarre, and it's quite normal, frequent at least, there is the fact that when you work with friends, you don't get anything written, signed. You just say, okay, your share is like 20%. And then, okay, no, it's offensive if you write this. Okay, if you're saying me, of course it is. And this is totally wrong. So try to be as clear as possible. Try to make everything written under a contract, and try to be sure that you have everything as transparent as possible. And by doing this, I think you can at least have better chances of not having problems.
Great. So, you know, I think we talked a little bit about, and I'm kind of jumping off this trend about friends, because I think we've kind of talked a lot about that. But let's talk about how you ended up choosing a sustainable market, because Eleni is asking any advice on how to stay ahead of the curve and find an opportunity for a business that can be booming in the present market. Now, I would kind of also want to rephrase that, not just the present market, but also probably in the next 10 years, especially, you know, since technology and everything else is moving so fast.
Yeah. The market is very dynamic, and that's a very important question. So you must really dedicate the time that you have, not only for the, let's say, regular activities of your business, but also for studying the market. I'm going to give an example about Quick Brazil. We were very clear on our pitch that was presented at the bootcamp's final, that this market related with the airlines, this is the first market. Because think, we are dealing with justice. We want justice and want a better and fair society. So what I think is that the well-succeeded business will take less problems related with airlines, delays, cancellation, and so on. So we are always studying other kinds of markets. For example, private health insurance, telecommunications, the banking system, because we know that once we have really made it right and corrected the market and made it work, so now, let's say in 10 years, there will be no more problems related with delays or cancellations, no major problems, because Quick Brazil was very well succeeded. So what we will be working on, which kind of markets we're going to explore to help customers. And so you must divide your time and dedicate the same for your regular activities and for studying which is your market and which is moving and going next.
Great. So I'm going to kind of jump back to a really, really important topic, which is the management of our emotions. And Jorge Diaz says, can you elaborate more, Tiago, on the management of emotions? I'm in the very beginning of the journey, but I feel like I'm riding a roller coaster. Something. I'm not laughing at you, Jorge. We both and everybody on the team practices what we preach, and we're laughing because we feel it every day too. But he was saying, I feel like I'm riding a roller coaster some days. I think this is going to be great, and others, I think I'm crazy trying to push my idea forward and it will be an absolute failure. I read the book Hard Things About Hard Things, and it says pretty much that way for entrepreneurs, but I would like to know if there's something that can help us out. And before you answer that, I just want to say, at the end of the bootcamp, attending the bootcamp, you get connected with a global community. For me, that has been impactful, but hey, Tiago, you take it over.
Oh yeah, so I was also laughing here because that's my life. It's really a roller coaster every day. And what is interesting about this is that once you really go on and study more about entrepreneurship, and the bootcamp is an example, I can tell you that bootcamp, MIT Bootcamp, there is such an energy inside there that once it was finished, I never slept again the same way I used to do. And you can ask my wife about this, and she will confirm. So the energy of my life changed. And I know that I'm going to have this, to face this roller coaster each day. And sometimes I don't want to do this, but you will have the power. You will have the source of energy to go there and make it and finish the roller coaster. And you know that sensation when you win the roller coaster, when it's ended and it happens at the end of the day, it's the same feeling of accomplishing a goal, of talking to your co-founders and seeing that it was made. And think about this: one person working in Brazil, another in the US, in the United States, another in Guatemala. Look at that. Look at how let's say, how a total roller coaster, different time zones, different cultures, different experience, all gathered together, working the same goal to succeed. So if I can give you an advice, it is this: to keep your focus, keep your courage, and of course, have your have the things in your life that are regular, your family, your lectures, your sports are very important. Best CEOs are often inside any kind of a sports activity. And so think about this as a way to help, also the spiritual for those ones who believe. So have this all gathered together, and I'm sure that we will be well succeed.
All right. Well, just to really kind of sum up what the boot camps, the MIT boot camps is all about. It's really the catalytic event that will accelerate your innovation journey. It's for people who are in transition, whether you're graduating from university, whether you're looking at a possible career change, whether you're exploring corporate innovation. You may be in a corporation and you're like, okay, well, you know, it's a job, but I want more impact. I want more meaning. And so we're looking at it from very, very different perspectives. Unfortunately, we're not able to get to all the questions today. We're going to be sending the questions over to Tiago, and we're going to be sharing that as part of the recording that will be shared in the next few days. But I just want to say, you know, there's a lot that's going on in everybody's life, and you really have to evaluate where you on that journey and how can you align not just your personal life, your professional life, and the dreams and the things that you actually want to do. And think about those three things. How can you kind of align them and really perhaps leverage the MIT Bootcamp as that place to explore, that safe place to explore where this could happen. So thank you, Tiago, for your time. Thanks for sharing. The next Global Innovators e-seminar will be on March 1st at the same time. Tiago's co-founder, John Hansen, as well as Emery Gonzalez will be joining us on the next series, on the next episode. And, you know, I've in some way deliberately kind of not answered the team questions and getting into a lot of the detail about the bootcamp because that will be coming up in the next one. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Tiago. Thank you everyone for attending. The recording will be on youtube.com/MIT Bootcamp. So if you haven't already subscribed, please like and subscribe in the MIT Bootcamps channel on YouTube. It's the new MIT Bootcamps learning channel. So that's going to be where you're going to get first-hand news and information about all the wonderful things that we're doing. So thank you for your time, and we will see you at the next one. Bye for now.